بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وخاتم النبيين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بالإحسان إلى يوم الدين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I'm Abu Abdullah Abdul Latif, and we welcome you back to another one of our productions for Arabic Virtual Academy. And in today's video, we're going to talk to you about aiding one another in that which is good. We want to talk about the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us to work together in piety and righteousness. This is something that every male and female, adult and child should be working together to do, to make things better all the way around the board, whether we talk about in our households as families, or in our communities, or in the ummah as a whole. Now, the first thing that we want to talk about is the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He created us, He did not make us a creation that is not in need of anything or that is self-sufficient. But we are in need of a lot of things, and we cannot possibly set ourselves up to be in a situation where we can go off and be by ourselves and live by ourselves. We're going to need one another. We need to work together, and we need to begin to cooperate so that we can all have success and happiness in our lives. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He commanded us to work together. But the thing about it is we have to understand that this command has its limitations. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not just command us to work together, but He commanded us to work together in that which is good. And commanded us to stay away from working together in those things that are evil. And we find this in Surah Al-Ma'idah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says at the end of the second verse, وَتَعَوَّنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَوَّنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ. We see in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, and help you one another in al-bir and at-taqwa, meaning virtue, righteousness, and piety. He says, but do not help one another in sin and transgression. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after this He says, and fear Allah. Verily Allah is severe in punishment. And again we said that this ayah is in Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse number 2. So we see here that Allah ta'ala, He explained to us that this working together, as we said a minute ago, it has its limitations. It's not just something that's open for interpretation where we just say, okay, well, we're just going to, as long as we're working together, it doesn't matter what it is, or as some people unjustly say, or mistakenly say, that the ends justifies the means. So however we work together, as long as it comes out to be something good, then it's fine. No. But rather Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said for us to work together in certain types of ways. And He said this is al-birr wa taqwa, in piety and in righteousness, and in things that have virtue behind them. And He commanded us not to work together in those things that are going to cause sin and evil and bad to come about. So therefore, once we understand that these limitations have been set, then we should make sure that we do not overstep the bounds and go into those areas in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forbidden us from doing. Now, what we want to talk about is how this working together upon piety and righteousness, how these things manifest themselves in our lives. Because if we look into many of our lives, we've heard this ayah over and over and over again. But the thing about it is that many times I think we don't sit and ponder on how it is that we apply this, because this is a command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for those of you who have studied the Lughat al-Arabiyyah, or the Arabic language, you understand that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses this command, or uses a command, or something that means a command, this means that it is an obligation on us to carry this out, unless there is something that removes this thing from being an obligation and just makes it recommended or something other than an obligation. So, the first thing we want to talk about is how it is that we work together in piety and righteousness and situations of virtue when it comes to our time. The first of the things that we want to talk about when we want to try to apply this is the situation of trying to teach one another. You have a lot of situations and where we can start a lot of these after school programs where we can help our youth. The ones that need help, whether it be in math and science, regardless of what it may be. It may even be in one of the Islamic sciences. If you have something to offer, it's not going to hurt you to give up one afternoon and maybe an hour or two to go to the masjid or one of the Islamic centers or the community centers and help out with the youth that may need help, that are trying to strive to make something out of themselves academically. This is something that is praiseworthy. This is something that an individual should be trying to do because they're helping to shape the future. We also have situations where people are running literacy programs. This doesn't even have to be anything that's really organized. I'm sure we all know individuals that may need help when it comes to reading and writing. Even issues of computer literacy. People may need help with being able to work their self. People may need help when it comes to being able to work their way around the computer and basic functions in Windows and turning on and off of the computers and things along these sorts. Because as you know, computers have become an important part of our society. So this is something that a lot of us cannot afford to be ignorant of. A lot of people can't afford not to know how to use their computers or use a computer. People need this for job training, as well as the reading and writing and things along these sorts. But in a lot of our countries, you don't find a lot of people that may not be able to read and write. But you're going to find a lot of people that aren't familiar with the computers that may need some type of training. And again, this falls under these literacy programs because this is called computer literacy. And this is another way in which we can work together. We can help to provide these services for the people so that we can work together so that our societies and our communities can raise up because the individuals are able to raise up in their levels of knowledge. This is one way in which we can use our time to work together to establish the good, to establish virtue. Another way in which we can do is some of these mentoring programs. Like, for instance, these big brother and big sister programs that they run at some of the different Islamic centers and the different community centers. There are a lot of youth out there that do not really have a lot of push in a good direction, or someone to stand behind them and show them and give them some incentive to accomplish something. There are a lot of youth out there that really don't know what's out there to know what it is they're interested in, so they know what it is they need to educate themselves in. And this is the role that some of the older brothers and sisters in the community should be taking. They should be trying to make that difference in the lives of our youth. And this is another way in which we can use our time and our energy to provide some good for the Muslim community. We can use this, we can work together with some of the other brothers and sisters in the community to provide these services for people that need them, so that we can help to shape the future of our ummah. So that we're not of those people that are just sitting around complaining about, look at how the youth, they're just wasting, they're sitting by the wayside and not doing anything. Why complain if you're not going to try to solve the problem? What good is it to sit around and point out the faults of the people if you're not going to do anything if you have the ability to do it? And like we said, we're not talking about giving up the whole of your lifetime. We're not talking about giving up a whole week at a time. We're talking about an hour or two out of the day. So we need to thank the people that are already involved in some of these programs. And those people who aren't involved, like we said in the last topic, we're only talking about giving up an hour, maybe 2 hours out of the course of the week. This isn't a lot. But this hour that you give can make a huge difference in the life of some of the Muslims in many of our communities. As well, another thing that you could do with some of your time is helping to take care of the elderly. Because as we said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us a creation that we need one another. And there was a point in time in which our elderly were taking care of us. They were making sure that we had what it is that we needed. They were giving us what they were able to give us, doing for us what they were able to do for us. And this was because they knew it was a time in our lives in which we needed that. And now that we've gotten older, we've gotten stronger, we've gotten more capable of taking care of ourselves, we're forgetting about those generations of people that laid the tracks for us, or that took care of us, or that taught us, or that gave as much as they gave so that we can have what it is that we have. They did their part, and it's time for us to stand up and do our part. And it's not like you have to go out and pay everyone's rent and go out and mow everyone's lawn. But a lot of times, a lot of the brothers and sisters in the community, the older brothers and sisters, they would be happy for someone just to come by and visit them. On your way to the masjid for Yomul Jumu'ah, go by and pick someone up. Listen, I'm coming by. I'm going to go by your house on Jumu'ah. Why don't I stop and pick you up? An hour-long visit wouldn't hurt you once a week. Yeah, no, I was just coming by to see how things are going, you know. How's life treating you? This isn't going to hurt you. If anything, it's going to help the relationship of the generation gap that we find in the masjids or in the Islamic centers. It's going to draw the people a little closer, and it's going to set that example for the youth and how it is that they should be when we get to be that age. Because the thing about it is we have to understand that, yes, right now, a lot of people are at their, what they call their prime. So they feel as though they're not in need of a whole lot of people in a lot of situations, but we are in dire need of each other. And until we begin to understand that we have to give back, or that we have to give as much as we are in the need of taking now, or may have been before in the need of taking, we need to get in that mind frame that we need to work together to accomplish that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us to accomplish. Now, we just talked about how we can use some of our time to work together, to establish these things that are established, that have virtue in it, or that establish righteous and pious goals. Now we want to talk a little bit about our wealth and how we can use that to work together, to aid one another in that which is good. And the first thing that we want to talk about is don't waste your wealth. There are a lot of us that have a lot of bad habits that we need to kick. Whether it be wasting money on haram things like cigarettes and the likes. Not only are you putting yourself in a situation where you're causing harm to yourself, think of, with as much as cigarettes cost these days and times all over the world, how much good that you could possibly do for another individual or another individual in their family with what you spend a week or bi-weekly or monthly on that which you're not doing anyway, but using it as a way of killing yourself and killing those around you and harming those around you, whether it be now or later in medical expenses. Think of all the good that you can cause for individuals that don't have money to feed themselves and their families. Or you talk about other situations like movies and these other forms of entertainment that people involve themselves in that aren't going to do anything but push lies and disobedience and make that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is displeased with look pleasing. Look at how much that we spend on this type of stuff as a nation. And what good we can be doing all around the world, let alone inside of our own communities. Think about all of the good that we can use if we use this wealth in ways in which we can cause a difference. Helping to feed the poor. Just think if you were able to take one of those packs of cigarettes and say, okay, listen, I'm not going to buy these cigarettes. But instead, I'm going to buy this little platter and I'm going to take it to this, whether it be an elderly individual in the community, whether it be just another one of the brothers and sisters in the community that you know may be going through hard times, whether it may be whatever. You may even use the money and give it away to someone to put gas in their car so they can get back and forth to work because you know that they're having hard times right now. There are a lot of things that you can do. Not just feeding the poor. You can do things like helping to start businesses in your community. And you may have your own job. You may not be able to run a business, but you can help to put some capital together so that someone that may not have a job, you may be able to work together with a few different brothers, start a business, whether it be even a little mom and pop shop that you have started on the corner with some of the other brothers and sisters, and you've employed some of the youth in the community to work and look after the shop. Or you've employed an individual to go and look after your store that may really need the extra income or may even need a source of income. And this money that you're putting out isn't going to do anything but work for you and bring you back extra money. So don't waste your wealth. Put your wealth to a good cause, something that's going to cause yourself, your family, and your community to grow. And as you gain this wealth, there are other things that you can do, like trying to support some of the Muslim businesses in your communities. Without a shadow of a doubt, we've all witnessed people going right by the Muslim shops, not spending their money there because of a personal difference that they may have with the owner of that shop or the person that works in that shop. But they'll go give their money to someone else that doesn't like them because of the fact that they're Muslim. Or that is only nice to them because of the fact that they're taking their money. Help the Muslim businesses in your communities to grow so that you can help to develop some type of capital in your communities so that you can do things like we were talking about earlier, these literacy programs. Whether we talk about starting soup kitchens, whether we start talking about taking the youth and the elderly out on trips, all of these things, they cost money. So we need to be able to put our money up so that we can begin to develop some type of capital so that we can develop these programs. So that once again, we can do as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded us when He said, وَتَعَوَّنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَوَّنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and help you one another in bir wa taqwa, but do not help one another in sin and transgression, and fear Allah. Verily Allah is severe in His punishment. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who see the importance of working together and coming together in ways that are going to please Him and cause us benefit in this life and the hereafter, as well as our families and our communities. Ameen, ameen, Allahumma ameen. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And don't forget, to find out more about our programs and our other courses, visit us at www.arabicvirtualacademy.com.